Hello, hello, hello. It is week 2. We're in day 8. So far, we've covered what the definition of setback is. We've covered my story. We've covered what it means to have a success in your life and how we define success. Yesterday, we spoke about ikigai, finding your true purpose, finding out why you wake up in the morning. Now, often we do have that, but the challenge becomes we become so involved in what we want to achieve in life that we go into a competitive mode. And today, what I'm going to invite you to do is to sort of look at um, the achievement or the success that you want without competition. And I'm going to introduce to a new word that actually doesn't exist sort of in the dictionary, which is out creation. Can we out create ourselves? Can we out create so that we bring in a different element of still achieving our success, still achieving our purpose of life, still having that fulfillment in our life, finding our ikigai and following through on that ikigai, but without a competitive nature. So let's define competition first, right? So competition can be defined as the act or the process of trying to get or win something that others are also trying to get or to win, right? Now, competition has drastically affected our world. Um, Competition is around us no matter what we do, right? We look at competition when we're in school, we have to get the best mark. When we are on the field, we have to win. If we are at work, we have to compete to get the best job or the best position or the best role. It's always about competition. So competition is going to be around us no matter what we do. It is there in the past, it's there in the present, and it's there on the future. However, this competition has an effect on all activities what we have in our life, and unfortunately we start relying on that competition and we start looking at success based on that competition, and we start looking at our own achievements based on competition. So can we have a look at it from a different way? This definition of competition actually implies scarcity in the universe, trying to get to win when something else is available for you rather than trying to win at no cost, right? We look at nature, which is a great example to be able to see. Yes, you will hear biologists and scientists say that the earth competes for different things, and animals compete for other food and stuff like that, but they actually do it out of out creation and not out of competition. How many times have you gone for a walk in nature and you look at trees with branches that just don't make sense in the manner of which they're growing? It is because they don't fight with one another tree branch and say, you know what, I'm going to win against you. It's I'm going to find another path. I'm going to find the path of least resistance to be able to get to where I want to. And so when we look at nature, can we look at and learn from it and say, well, if we can have an infinite amount of resources, if we're infinite beings, we have infinite choices, as I'm going to show you today, then we don't need to compete anymore. We only have to outcreate. So what are the negative effects? I think I missed a slide somehow. All right. Um, Somehow I missed a slide. So, some of the negative impacts of competition are, health issues. You don't have work balance life. It can lead to depression. It can lead to mental health issues. But when we actually look at the positive effects of outcreating, we see that we have increased creativity. It allows us to tap into our intuition. You are allowed, or you are able to attract the life that you want. You will have a better mental health because you're not constantly in this stress mode where there's cortisol filled in your body. You will have cortisol. You will have a less amount of cortisols in your body, or cortisol in your body, that's going to create that imbalance that you want. You will see growth. You will start working in a more collaborative manner, which then creates a balance in your life. So then how do you outcreate yourself? Right? We look at Ronaldo over here. He doesn't compete. He outcreates. He makes plays that nobody else has made. Right? He's not competing with the next person that's out there. He's trying to be better than himself. He's outcreating the next person that's out there. He's trying to be. Okay, I'm not sure what's happening over here. It's giving me some echo. Outcreation is a beautiful word, and it has a deeper meaning. Right? You are the creator of your life, and whatever you create, you can always add more to it, as it's a continual progression. There is no stopping to it. There's an infinite amount of resources that are available to you. You look at the Raptors game, I sort of put a post really quickly. The first two games they lost because they were in this competitive mode. They were in the playoffs. They had to win. They had to prove. The last two games, they actually stepped back. They played with fun and joy. You could see the team working together, collaborating. Even yesterday, when there was an error with two players, when they scored in the opposite team, it's okay. Let's move on. We're going to get this thing done. Yesterday was a beautiful example of what outcreation means. Because the true growth is actually within yourself. Yes, you can compete with yourself, and I'm not saying competition is bad, but how can you outcreate? And we all fall into this trap, right? I was in this trap. When I started doing my coaching and consulting, it's like, well, I can't give all of this information for free because my competition will know what I'm doing. Or I can't give this for free because if I give it for free, then who's going to work with me? But when I start giving it out, in fact, today or yesterday, I made a decision that I was actually going to put all of these videos on YouTube, because I was getting this feedback that a lot of people were not able to join the Facebook group, or they didn't know how to do it, but YouTube was an easier channel. So now all of these videos are going to be available on YouTube. And how wonderful it is that people are actually now telling me, can I share this? And it's going worldwide. That is outcreation. Now, I did find my slide of negative effects of competition, and maybe that's what it's supposed to be, right? Because negative emotion will lower your self-esteem, right? We look at incentive programs and competitions and all of that stuff, but it actually creates low self-esteem, because when you don't get that reward, when you don't get what you're looking for, what ends up happening is that you start feeling bad about yourself. And often, if it's a competition, we start maybe focusing on the wrong things because we want to win at every cost. And when you get into that frame of mind of winning at every cost, that's wrong. And so you start looking at saying, well, what corners can I cut? What things can I do? And when that's impacting enough for you, then it impacts not only your work-life balance, but it will impact your mental health as well. And so this feeling of inadequacy, inability, because you're not able to meet the standards. We talked about the life that you're living within yourself, or the life that others are expecting. So you start living that other person's life because you don't feel that you're adequate, or you have the ability to live the life. And when you're constantly in that low frequency, we talked about energy, we talked about frequency, right? When you're constantly in that low frequency, you're going to attract that low frequency, and it can lead to depression. Or on the other extreme, you work extra hard, you overexert, you overwork. So neither of those extremes are not good for you, because you want to create that balance. And when we outcreate ourselves, we can create that balance. To bring it into terms that most people will understand is a growth mindset compared to a fixed mindset. When you're in a competitive mode, you end up being more in a fixed mindset, right? I'm either good or I'm not. I can't be challenged. I'm frustrated and I give up. Failure is the limit of my abilities. But when you are in a outcreate in a more collaborative mode, then you look at failure as an opportunity to grow. It's not that you need to get to where the next person is, it's where you want to go. And you then start to look at the setbacks and challenges, not as a drawback that you can't get to where you want to, but as a stepping stone to success. You start being open and in allowance to learn new things. You look at feedback as constructive and not criticism, because you are now more in a creation mode. You're in an intuitive mode. I love to share this story where, what if everybody was given an A? This is a story about Benjamin Zander. He was the conductor of the Boston Philharmonic Orchestra. He was a teacher, speaker, and a co-author, and he wrote the book, The Art of Possibility. Now, Zander's teaching practice involved telling all of his students on the first day of class that they had all received an A, that they really and truly had to believe that they were an A student. And that is the grade they would receive. So it wasn't like one would get A and the other person couldn't. Everybody in the class could get an A. But there was one condition. The condition was that each student must submit a letter the following week, but dated at the end of the term, explaining who they will have become by the end to justify this outstanding grade. The letter had to begin with, Dr. Mr. Zander, I got my A because giving an A comes with benefits. First and foremost, it has the power to transform relationships. Students no longer see themselves as competitors with each other, but they actually are family. There is no more I'm better than him or she's better than me. Instead, students start focusing on themselves and the possibilities that exist within and around them. Secondly, it just feels better being an A student. It allows everyone to function from such a happier place. It's certainly better to be than I'm in the 90th percentile, or I'm in the 80th percentile, or I got 46%, or I got 49%, right? Recognizing that we all make mistakes, that mistakes are what help us learn and discover some amazing things. It can open up possibilities. Remember, we talked about fear yesterday, hope and fear. You work on this, I hope get 90%, hope I get 100%. What if that hope is taken away? That you are already there, that you're now an A student, so it doesn't matter. What if we weren't afraid? There was no fear to share our point of view in the class, to try out a different style, to try out something different. The practice of giving an A, whether given by a teacher or given to yourself as a gift, frames your efforts on a possibility to live into rather than an expectation of living up to. Let me repeat that. The practice of giving an A, whether to yourself or to others, is a gift that frames your efforts as a possibility to live into rather than living up to an expectation of someone else. If you remember that quote that we talked about a few days ago, are you living the life that you want, or there's two lives, right? The life that you live and the life that you want to live. Which is the life that you're living? Powerful, powerful lesson, right? So then if that is the case, I invite you that everything is a choice. We cannot force change on other people, but we can change ourselves. We can challenge their view of the world. And that's what I do as part of being a coach. I challenge you to be able to look at things differently. That is my role for the next 21 days, to be able to challenge you to say that you have a choice, to be able to look at things differently. People come to work with me because they want to change, but the hard work has to be done by them. Right? I love to see, big muscles, but if I don't go to the gym, then I'm not going to build those muscles. There has to be that commitment. You have to recognize that you have choices, and challenges are part of those choices that you have to do. Understanding that we have a choice actually reminds us of the power we have within ourselves to be able to look at the life that we want. We can look at the choices that we've made that has led us there, and we can regret, or we can say that that was a stepping stone, because you're always in the moment that you're supposed to be. The universe always conspires for your highest good. But you're living the life today because of the choices you made, but those choices prepare you for choices going forward. Life is nothing but a totality of conscious choices that you continuously have to make. Dan here talks about making choices in minute milliseconds. Make a choice. You don't like the choice, guess what? You have a choice of making another choice. And if you don't like that choice, guess what? You make another choice. You continually make minute choices every moment. Evaluate, be aware, be in the present moment. And where you are in the present moment, then that's what differentiates understanding versus awareness. Dan here says understanding is inferior to our awareness. Understanding is a function of your mind. You take past practices, past experiences, past events, and bring them into the present, but the past is not a predictor of the future. Awareness is a function of you. That is why we're called human beings. You just have to be. Can you just be? I'm going to end with the story as I always do, and I am going to apologize that I'm going to be a few seconds or minutes over, but this is an important story to end our conversation today. A man was invited by a scientist for lunch at his home. The man was sitting at the lunch table when he saw a horseshoe hanging on the wall. A horseshoe in most cultures is believed to bring good luck. The man was surprised and asked the scientist, "Sir, I can't believe you are a scientist and you also believe in the superstition that a horse brings you luck." The scientist replied, "No, no, no, I don't believe in such stupidity. But the person who gave it to me said whether I believed in it or not, it would bring me luck all the same." Your response to different situations, decisions you make are completely your choice. But we often fool ourselves into believing someone else is responsible and start making excuses for that. We consistently and constantly believe that we are given unfair results and we see those as our setbacks. This is because we are not able to connect the cause and the effect of many things that happen in our lives. We start looking at them from a matter of our mind and not our awareness. When we're blissfully aware that we are the ones responsible for our consequences, we have made it happen by the way of unconscious living. If you only do it through awareness, you may think that somebody else decides your life. Understand that you can decide to respond differently. You always have a choice. I ask you today, what choice are you going to make? Are you going to be competing or are you going to be out creating? If you had a total choice, what would you create? I thank you for joining me today. This is a new concept. If you have gotten something out of it, put down one or two things in the chat or in the Facebook group. And tomorrow is day 9. We're looking forward to it. It's going to be an exciting, exciting day. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thank you and have an awesome day.
You too. Bye, Karim.
All right. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.